Good morning, everybody. Today is, good morning, Nancy, Mom. Today is April the 13th, Monday, April the 13th. Good morning, Eleanor. It is a brisk, windy, rainy, although we believe the rains have passed us day here in Lexington, Kentucky. We're here in the training barn field, and Dad has just come out to say hello to some of our retired mares. In this field you have Vivine and Passion Flower and Charbat. Good morning, everybody. We're going to join our Blacksmith team this morning, try and take advantage of a little bit of maybe less wind inside the, good morning, Peggy, Muddy, a little bit of less wind maybe inside the barn, and try and introduce you to the Blacksmith team. They've been a part of our family for a long time. Again, this is Price speaking, and Dad is there in the, good morning, Sean. Dad is there in the field. We've also got Hannah Boyle, who is our experience coordinator. She is logged in currently as Millridge, so she'll be responding to your questions and comments. I'm going to do my best to read them and answer questions as they come, but if we don't answer it, know that we'll come back through the comments and answer anything that we might have missed. If there are friends that you'd like to share this with, by all means, we welcome and appreciate you sharing with your friends. And if there are things that you'd like more of, please let us know. I kind of was brainstorming some with Hannah on the drive in, and talked about maybe if there's a particular audience group that you think would enjoy this, if you're an educator, or if you're, if there's something that you want to maybe teach your students or your family, please let us know, and we'd love to try and assist. Again, we are all in this together, in the words of Governor Beshear, and we're trying to hope that we just share a little bit safely about what life is like on our thoroughbred farm here, while everybody is staying healthy at home. So the Dad, is her name on her halter there? Oh, it's been rubbed off. So these are retired mares, Charbat. These mares here in their mid to late 20s, and after they've done, I think amongst them they've had probably 35 or 40 foals. On average, mares over a 15 to 20 year reproductive life will have somewhere in the 10 to 12 foal range. So these mares, after they had their last foals, they've been retired from breeding, and so what they are now are nursery mares, if you will, or nanny mares. And so they come and they're turned out here in what we call the training barn field. This barn here is we call the training barn, or barn 3. It was one of the only structures that was on the farm when my great-grandfather started the farm. Penelope, the chestnut, is Charbat, here in the foreground. So this barn was built by my great-grandfather. It was one of the first barns that my grandmother, when she started Millridge, was here. This paddock here, right behind the training barn, is where Begum lived. So we've told the story of Begum and told it the other day, but she was the mare that was born without any eyes from the first crop of Alydar, and she lived right behind the office. So last Friday we walked by our new office, and this is the back of our old office. In fact, when the farm was first started, this barn was here. There was a road that ran clear through this door in the barn all the way to what is by my grandparents' house, which Dad walked you by. I think we'll come here and then maybe go see those mares. But the road ran straight through, and on this side of the barn was the office. The back half, so really behind those windows and that door, was actually the breeding shed, and it was there. And then the front was the office. In fact, that door that led into the was a warm room, and then the office was on the other side. And hey Ashley, interestingly, this half was, as I mentioned, a breeding shed, and at that time we stood a couple stallions. As most operations, it wasn't really as commercial as it is today, and so we had stallions and kind of bred your stallions to your mares, and it was deemed unladylike for women to be present at the breedings. And so, as I've mentioned before, my grandmother had moved back from Texas in 1960 with her family, maybe late 59. They moved back to Lexington to start the farm. This barn was being built, and then in March of 62, while they were training horses one morning at Keeneland, my great-grandfather had a heart attack and died actually in barn 31 at Keeneland. It was at the time named Barn Q. So anyway, my grandmother, unsure now of what to do, and had come back with one plan, meaning to start the farm and work with her father. For he was only in his mid-60s when he passed, and so I think that she'd anticipated many years of working together and raising the family and etc. And so but that didn't happen, and so he'd left her 286 acres in the barn that's behind. Kathy, that's not actually my grandfather, that's my great-grandfather, and this is my grandmother's father. I'm sorry for that confusion. So this barn was there, 286 acres of land, 4 mares, and a couple stallions. And so my grandmother, in having the breeding shed on the backside, on that half of the barn, needed to carry on. And in order to be a thoroughbred, you have to have a live cover, so the stallion impregnates the mare, as opposed to other breeds that have artificial insemination. And so it was deemed, this mare here is named Pert Lady. It was deemed unladylike for women to be present at the breedings in 1962. And so my grandmother, can you all hear me okay? Leanne, I see that you might not be able to hear, but can you hear me okay? So my grandmother, in order to maintain her ladylike presence, I guess, would actually cut a hole in the wall between the breeding shed and the office. And what she did was this window was now cut in the bathroom, so that when there was a breeding, she would go in the bathroom of the office and stand on the toilet and observe the breeding to make sure that everything happened safely and that the jobs were done, etc., while at the same time maintaining her ladylike status, I guess, if you will, which I always found great humor in. And it's kind of a theme actually that resonates for my grandmother for through the years. She, I think nowadays is viewed as somewhat of a pioneer, and I guess she certainly was, but she didn't necessarily consider herself one. Rather, she felt like there was, a certain amount of work to be done, and everyone needed to do and fill in to do and get the work done. And so when it wasn't necessarily boy versus girl, man versus woman, it was, we've got stalls to muck, we've got hay to hang, we've got mares to palpate and tease. And so by gosh, everybody pitches in and gets it done. And so when I first started working in the mid 90s, now I should say that there were also three guys that came and left Beaumont Farm, which was my grandmother's family farm, and came to help her start Millridge. Henry Jackson and a gentleman named Brother and a gentleman named Joe Bates. And Joe Bates was still alive when I was here and first started working in the 90s. And so he he would tell stories about, they were, big, strong men in their mid 40s, 30s, 40s. And they would start, cleaning out a barn, mucking out stalls and cleaning out a barn. And, they'd be walking out of a stall. My grandmother was walking in a stall. She was always just a couple steps ahead of them, and they could never quite get in front of her, which Joe shared with, great pride because of how inspiring I think it was to work with my grandmother and get all the work done. And to that same point, when we started horse country, we were working with and a dear friend, Luke Fallon, whose family started Haggard Equine Medical, which you can also visit on farm tours, and Haggard is our veterinary partners, and so Luke's grandfather was named Harold Fallon, and Harold was my great-grandfather's kind of right-hand person, and so anyway, Luke's father Ed was kind of raised with my grandmother and dearest of friends, and Ed was our first veterinarian here at the farm, reproductive vet partner. And as we were starting horse country, Ed and Luke, and Ed in particular, would tell stories of my grandmother when they would be palpating mares and getting, this time of year you're teasing mares and getting them back in foal. And also this time of year, typically, you would be at Keeneland for the races. And so it's a great time. It's a wonderful time to entertain clients and enjoy sharing how far horses have come in the year since they've seen them. And anyway, they would, Ed would share how my grandmother would, do all the teasing and do all the vet work in her Chanel suit, and then go and entertain clients at Keeneland. And that was just how she did it, because that was what needed to be done, which I think is the way it should be, frankly. So these, what we're walking through here, are yearling fillies. As you can hear them, they're curious because their routine is kind of off this morning, and the routine is off because they're going to get their nails done. And so our blacksmiths actually are just approaching. So they've been down at barn 4, and now they're coming to barn 3 to do these yearling fillies. And so we're going to watch them. Today is just a typical trimming. At this stage, they're, with the spring coming, their hooves are growing more quickly, just like their hair is growing more quickly. And we'll have Terry or Charlie speak to that briefly. Of course, maintaining a socially distanced, safe space. But we've stopped here at the other end of this barn, which Dad and I love for a lot of reasons. It's the hay room of barn 3, and you can see the concrete beams. How Price Headley wanted to do things one time, so he did everything in concrete. And this apparatus here was built and installed when the barn was built, which was in 1960, and it came from Beaumont, and it's an oat crusher. And so you climb in and you load whole oats into the top, and then they come down and they're crushed to just start kind of making them a little bit more digestible for the yearlings. And so when we start, when we do prep, when we start preparing horses for the sale, we will increase their feed. We will add crushed oats. Sorry, my lips are cold because it's cold here. But we will add crushed oats, and we'll add some flaxseed. We'll cook flax seeds all day to add for their coats. And kind of, I guess it is like spa treatment, because you're exercised and then they're groomed, they're fed more. It's kind of like the Canyon Ranch, I guess, here at Mill Ridge. They're fed beet pulp and, really bringing out the best and vibrant in their colors and muscles and all that. And then outside of this barn, hey, Kyle, is Oscar Performance. And so Oscar Performance is our stallion that's right there, grazing in this lush Kentucky bluegrass today, is the world record holder at a mile. He ran a mile in 1:31 and 2/5 of a second, and he is in his second year at stud. You want to go give Oscar a carrot while they get started? Shirley, we didn't have too bad of storms last night. We really just had a lot of rain. The Elkhorn Creek is full here on Bowman Mill Road. It has not come over the road yet, but it is certainly full. We had some pretty good winds on Friday, maybe, but we were lucky that we didn't have any. I'm sure that across central Kentucky there was quite a bit of damage, but we didn't. We were lucky. We were dodged this time, I guess. Stephanie, Oscar, at the moment, Oscar last year he had 118 dates last year, and this year he's actually on pace to have more dates this year, more mares this year. He's been very popular. People like the foals that they've seen. Also, Oscar is interesting for a couple reasons. One, his father, Kitten's Joy, is the best turf sire in the country, and Oscar would probably be, he'd probably be the best son of Kitten's Joy at stud. And so I think that as turf racing continues to evolve and become more popular, Oscar Performance is getting a lot more, has had more interest this year. In addition, he's a very correct horse, and meaning that his limb alignment is correct as opposed to offset or towing in or towing out. And so, and he's a big horse for being he's a big horse, meaning he's tall. He's 16 hands, 16.1 hands, and so he's a tall horse. And in this game, you're looking for good size. He himself has quite a lot of leg, meaning he's a long-legged horse, and for our eye, and he has so far been really his offspring, as you've seen in most of, in fact, in the main field that we've been showing during these tours. Many foals are by Oscar Performance, and you might have heard us comment about the amount of leg he is siring. I agree, Billy. Oscar deserves an Oscar. Hey, buddy. Oh, sorry, guys. Did Oscar have a mare this morning? So Oscar had a date this morning, and he likely has one after lunch as well. This is kind of the midst of the breeding season, and so this is really in they are the busiest right now. The question was asked about concrete barns being safer. Yeah, you'd have to think yes, absolutely. But if there's a bad storm, there's a bad storm. But we have a blend of
fire.
Yeah, and also for fire, especially. While not as popular as it once was, smoking, we don't allow smoking in barns and etc. But fire in concrete is not as conducive for obvious reasons. Should we go and see our blacksmiths? So we're going to wander and see the blacksmiths. We've got a blend of concrete barns and of old tobacco barns. Tobacco barns are the black wooden barns that you see kind of throughout Kentucky. They're excellent at having air circulated through. Donna, the question about who is the dam sire of Oscar Performance? His name is Theatrical, and so Oscar Performance's name. His mother is named Divine Actress, and his father is Kitten's Joy, and so he was named appropriately. And Oscar Performance is the son of a divine actress. Ooh, excuse me, guys. It is a cool northwestern wind coming through today. I love showing this. So when we started doing tours with Horse Country, our friend Ann Bowe and Chesney Turner helped us landscape this area. And Ann is a landscape designer, and her vision for this as you come through was it's a lot of Kentucky native plants which attract a lot of bugs and butterflies and birds. And so I always like to point out that Ann's customers are not human. They are the birds, the butterflies, and the bugs are her clients, which is great. Hey, Charlie.
What's going on, pal? How are you?
Great. Yourself?
I'm pretty good. Okay, Charlie, ready? Yeah, you're good.
Charlie, you just doing basic trimmings today? So, Charlie and Terry. Charlie, how long have you worked with us at Mill Ridge? How long have you worked with us at Mill Ridge? 30 years?
Maybe, give or take.
Would you like a close-up? We're on Facebook Live right now. People are tuning in from around the world.
Are you real?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Terry, he's more photogenic than me.
I don't know about that, Charlie. But you think 30 years? Every bit of that? 30 years was 1990.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It's crazy. I was just sharing about Joe Bates
Oh, man.
as walking through here, and
I still think about the days of playing tonk.
absolutely.
He'd bring donuts every morning. We'd buy the donuts off of him.
Feed is
That was more fun than you could ever imagine. Especially when you go in there, and I think they were like 20 cents a piece, and you give him all pennies.
Right. Well, the other beauty in Tonk is like a gin game, and you played for 25 cents a hand until the last hand was a big hand. It was a 50-cent hand.
Right. We had some pretty rough teams in that tap room there years ago.
It was good fun.
Grandma would get into them every once in a while.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Grandhouse loved to play Tonk.
Yeah. During lunch. I mean,
Right.
we got it,
Exactly.
Those days are gone.
I know. Well, no, they might return. We play digital Tonk.
So it's important, if I may share, Charlie and his team are such a fabric. We're all about team, and everybody contributes to make us whole. And how long you been with us, Charlie?
I said 30 years.
Get outta here.
I know 30 years.
Good golly. Well, there you have it.
It's give or take. I can't.
So all
I'd
these,
have to look and see. I can't really remember what the
all the,
actual
if we've had 34 Grade 1 winners since 2000, that's less than 20 years ago. Well, Charlie was certainly a part of those 34 Grade 1
maybe just a
winners.
small piece.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's so vital, so very, very vital.
Where are we at? American Girl. American Girl.
So here we're.
So Charlie's looking at his notes from when they would have looked at the yearlings earlier,
When we were watching them walk in.
when they watched them walk in, and every month, so they come once a month, and unless there's some that we do what we call 2-weekers, which need a little more attention. So he'll have all the markings on each of the yearlings, and they will as a team, and what they need to do.
So Charlie, you had a question from your audience.
Yes, sir.
Stephanie asked, "Who is your favorite horse?"
I don't know why, but it's just a soft spot in my heart. Would probably be Affirmed.
Affirmed.
Yes.
Triple Crown winner.
Yes. I worked on him for years when he was retired, and he was just a lovely animal.
Yeah.
I always wanted that.
Good choice.
He probably had a soft spot in my heart.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good
I
one.
like
to have.
that.
Yeah, I mean, he was just a true gentleman to work with. When you came in there, he was all business and just a good horse to work for, to work on.
So they say, at least I'd read that Affirmed on race day. Who's this trainer? Was Laz? Was it No, who's this? Las Barrera, right?
Prayer, yes.
So, on race day, they do whatever to alter their schedule so they kind of know that they can get into game. And I was told that Affirmed would lay down as soon as he knew it was race day, and he wouldn't get up until it was time to go over to the track. He just was storing every bit of energy.
That's the true mark of a lot of racehorses. Old Mr. Bell, we worked for years and years, and he would walk down through there, and the horse would be laying in the stall. That'd be the first one he'd say, "There's a racehorse." I mean, that's exactly the way. That was his philosophy and thinking.
I love it.
So Charlie and his team are contract laborers. In other words, they don't work just solely for Mill Ridge. They work at various other farms,
Right.
including Darley and Juddmonte and Denali and various farms, all leading farms.
So what Charlie's doing is his first move is he's clearing out the foot. The hoof has carries rock and muck and stuff in it. So he's cleaning out the foot, and then he goes and he's taking a little bit of a pinch, just like you'd use your nail clippers, and he's pinching off depending on how much growth you're cutting it back right just to the band, right?
Just like we'd be doing our fingernails.
Just like you'd be doing your fingernails.
Trimming off the excess growth to them.
Trimming off the excess growth, and then he is taking a rasp and he's just smoothing it out. And so that's his move there, is just smoothing them out. And depending on the hoof and the joint alignment, he is keeping them level, meaning that the foot is going to be flat across it, or he might be trimming it high or low on one side, depending on the alignment for that joint. At different stages of a horse's growth, you can adjust their joint alignment by trimming. So, for example, if a horse is pigeon-toed, meaning that from their ankle and their knee, they're toeing in, the angle of it is pointing in, meaning from if you were running a line, pointing in, you would trim the foot so that it was higher on the inside, meaning that it was striking on the outside of the hoof.
Higher on the outside.
Higher on the outside, right. Sorry. Lower on the inside, so that they strike the outside of the hoof and slowly pulls the joint straight, if that makes sense. So you see.
We picked a good day.
Yeah.
Wind blowing.
I know.
Air getting cooler.
It did get cold, didn't it?
It's starting to. Trying to, anyway.
It'll be in the 30s tomorrow.
Oh, I know.
So you see on the hoof,
I couldn't believe how warm it was this morning.
I couldn't either. But you see on the hoof, the dark part up towards Charlie's knees is the frog. And Charlie, do you know why it's called a frog? That's what he's...
Plantar cushion.
Plantar cushion.
And that helps pump the blood through the horse's foot.
Got it. So it's like a big
It's kind of
sponge.
a soft, rubbery thing,
Right.
and it's real pliable. And we just use the short term as frog.
Frog.
Because it's kind of rubbery.
Right, because it's rubbery and like a frog's back.
It will help. It also helps pump the blood flow all through the horse's body, actually.
And so if
But
you...
basically the foot helps generate the blood flow and stimulate the blood flow to the foot.
I like that. Because it is, so horses don't have great circulation in their extremities. They don't have any muscle below their forearm. It's all bone, ligament, and tendon. And so the frog is the main, blood destination.
Kind of like the horse's second heart.
Right, it's like a horse's second heart. And so as they walk and they move, they push the blood back from their extremities up to back to their heart. And one of the facts I love about horses that I often share is that horses can bear all their weight on their skeletal system because they have a ligament in their hips that they can engage so that they can stand and not get fatigued. Darlene asks whether or not you can trim the hoof too short, like a dog, and
Yeah, absolutely.
absolutely, and they will.
It's just kind of like us trimming our fingernails a little. I did my toenails last night, and I was referring to my wife. I said I got one of them a little short, a little sore. But yes, you can. And generally, it makes them a little tender.
Right.
It's not anything other than it would be the same for us.
Right.
When we get them a little tender for them.
Ray makes a comment, Charlie, that his back is hurting watching you, and so
Well,
that happens.
it's part of just being conditioned like anything else.
Right.
Yes, after years of it, you do get to where a lot of arthritis sets in.
Right.
And I've told your dad several times, these are the kind of days that really hurt me when the temperatures drop.
Right.
Because of the arthritis.
Right. Right.
Over the years.
No, absolutely. And did you go to school for shoeing?
I did not. I learned, I apprenticed under two people. One was Doug Parsons. He started me out in it years ago, and I worked for him for almost 2 years. And then I was very, very fortunate. He had a sister that worked at Jonabell Farm. And the gentleman that was the farrier there for years and years and years was had just recently had been in an accident and was needing some help. So I was able to join up with him, and from that point on, we formed a relationship. And I apprenticed underneath him for probably 3 more years, and then we formed a partnership.
That was Harry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was Harry
Okay.
McKenna.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
How long with
I
Harry?
did not go to Ferris Store. Now he did. He went to Michigan State years and years ago.
Huh.
Harry did.
Harry did.
And I'm not quite. Doug went out west, but I'm not quite sure what school he went to out west.
Got it. And Harry was probably 6'3". Was it? I mean, he was tall, wasn't he? I mean, he was tall. He was every bit of 6'3", maybe 6'4".
He was real skinny, and
Right.
he stayed skinny for years. And he was just. I had the opportunity to go to work for several different people, and it was just amazing on how tall he was and how naturally
Right.
he looked under a
Right.
horse. It was just almost like he molded himself
Right.
to him. And I said, boy, if I could learn from him.
Right.
How long were you with him, Charlie?
The so at what stage or
Until he passed, I mean, shoot, probably 35 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
probably 36 or 7 years.
right.
So,
So let's hope you
Yeah. Stephanie, Charlie does work at Jonabell, was Jonabell, which is now Godolphin at Jonabell. He does work with Juddmont Farms. He does work with Denali Stud. Where else?
Samaya.
What's that? Samaya,
Silver Springs.
Silver Springs.
Where
So
else are we, guys? I can't. Chanticleer.
Chanticleer.
Yeah.
The
My
and
mind can't think right now. Who else are we, Terry? Paul Tackett.
Paul Tackett.
I've worked. He's probably my oldest and dearest client now. I've worked for him for years and years.
Wow.
And years. I mean, Billy Anderson. Yeah, Clearbrook Farm.
and when do you put shoes on? It was a question that
It's
came
all
through.
different stages. We really only shoe them if they have a specific problem, whether they've had an abscess or any various reasons. When we do our most shoeing is when they go to the September sales.
Right.
And we're putting plates on the front of them just to kind of help protect their feet when they
Right.
go to sales, give them a little more cushion.
Right.
And also you can do a little corrective trimming with,
Right.
with shoes on. But that's the majority of our work.
Right.
When we put shoes on.
And at the sales, they're walking on the hard ground over and over, and on the eye dust, just the
Right.
rock dust.
And that'll get tender-footed.
Right. Yeah, it'd be like walking on sand.
So much.
Right. It'd be like walking on sandpaper.
Right.
In a way, and so the plates help that abrasiveness, and they're just shown and walked so much that we put plates on then. The question was asked about the tires, so that's an old school nervous trick. So Stormy West, when she's in the stall, can get nervous, and so we put the tire down, and it just helps her not be as nervous. It helps her not. You'll hear about horses stall walking when they get nervous, and so that helps her not be quite as nervous. It limits kind of her anxiousness in the stall, if that makes sense. So they get trimmed once a month. We want to,
unless they're 2 weekers,
unless they're 2 weekers,
which means that we need a little more attention.
which means that we need a little bit more attention, whether we're trying to help with their limb alignment, or whether they have an abscess or some sort of hoof problem. Joyce, I don't know if you heard or not, or I'm not really sure about the delay on this, but the tire we use for a filly who can get nervous in the stall, and the tire limits kind of their ability to, it kind of limits her stall walking. when we have that expression, horses are stall walkers. When they're in the stall, they're just moving all the time and walking the stall because they're nervous. Horses are herd animals, and so the first thing that we'll do if they are nervous in the stall is we will put them in a stall that has a window in it, so that they can see another horse to help them kind of calm down. Dad, should we go on a walk? Yeah. So we'll walk down towards our expecting mothers, barn 5. Show everybody a little bit of a different view of the farm. Hopefully, we've got some carrots to give away. So, or spoil away, I guess would be the better expression. This is one of my favorite views of the farm. When I first started, you see the little hut there on the other side of the fence was where a water tower was, and this is one of the high points of the farm. And in that dip down there is a spring, a very healthy spring that we would pump water up to the water tower, and it fed and supported the whole farm. At that time, we were on spring water, and about 17 years ago, we moved to city water. It was easier. One, easier. Two, it was more consistent. This side of the city has changed a lot, and and there just wasn't maybe the assurity of really good spring water as there once was. So anyway, we moved to city water, and it's great. And we did that about 10 or 15 years ago. Here's Pert Lady, and creative design maybe. I called Kim this morning and asked to confirm the retired mares, and now I've forgotten. I'm sorry, team, but this is definitely Pert Lady because she has this coon or skunk tail, and she's a Cox's Ridges mare. And is the mother of a very fast horse named Zavada, who was by a horse named Phone Trick. So Pert Lady was very fast. She's probably at least the second generation of her family on the farm. Her mother was named Impertinent Lady, and we then named her Pert Lady. Ooh, you all will not likely be able to see this because it's way off in the distance. But there's a fox moving in the field off in the distance. Dad, do you want to go and see the mare and fall in the corner and call it a day, or you?
Yeah, we're only about 3 minutes away.
Penelope, she did not have a white tail from rubbing it. I don't know where she got it from, to be honest with you. But yeah, there's a fox way out in the distance, and we have a couple dens of foxes here on the farm. They typically den in kind of our tree pens, but Pert Lady is a dear friend of the farm and part of the family. We're gonna come to the end here and show you the backside of barn 5, which is where our expecting, on deck mothers are in this field in front of us. I want to share, we've had great feedback from people about the peacefulness of this time. So we're going to try something tomorrow and Thursday in the afternoons on Instagram Live. We're going to do peaceful pastures. So it will be no humans, just horses, and I'll be walking with the Instagram Live to just show mares and foals grazing and playing. It'll probably be about 10-15 minutes, something like that. I won't again be commenting or commentating. The intention is really to try and embrace the sounds of the farm and just take in that peacefulness. But we will be replying to all your questions and comments afterwards. So we'll post and confirm the timing, but expect on Instagram tomorrow around 3 o'clock for Peaceful Pastures. Just again, trying to help everyone enjoy, find some joy in these unique times. So yes, Kathy, I believe that if you post on Instagram, that it will then translate over to Facebook. But we're just learning about all this social media technology. It has not previously been something that we have done much of, but are really enjoying. Yes, ma'am. Yes, Janice. We are on Instagram under Mill Ridge Farm. So we look forward to doing that tomorrow. Sherwin, I'm not. How many acres is likely? How many acres is the farm? The farm is about 600 acres. Sorry. So check us out tomorrow afternoon around 2:30, 3 o'clock. It should be reposted on Facebook. And we will also be back on Wednesday morning for a more commentated virtual tour at 10:30. Between now and then, I think our temperature is going to go down to 30 and then back up to 60, hopefully on Wednesday. So we hope you all stay safe and stay healthy, and we so appreciate your engagement. And please, again, share with people you might think would enjoy it, and also let us know if there's a specific group that we could do something special for. So thank you all so much, and stay safe.